Hello, I'm Ashley Luskey. I am the Assistant Director of the Civil War Institute at Gettysburg College, and I am here in the historic cupola of the Lutheran Theological Seminary at the Seminary Ridge Museum with Pete Miele, the Executive Director of the Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center. And as some of you might know, the Civil War Institute is currently gearing up for our annual summer conference, which occurs this June from June 9th to 14th. We have a wide array of lectures, active battlefield experiences, small group discussions, really something for everyone to offer at the conference. We have a really good lineup of speakers: Harold Holzer, Carol Reardon, Peter Carmichael, Jennifer Murray, amongst many, many others. So we're really hoping that you will come out and join us this summer and attend the CWI conference. But one of the new things that we are happy and excited to pitch this summer is our bundled registration packages. This is something new that we're offering with various cultural institutions and museums in the Gettysburg area, including the Seminary Ridge Museum. And the Seminary Ridge Museum has been kind enough to offer all of our CWI registrants and attendees a 25% off discount to visit the Seminary Ridge Museum. It's an enormous discount, very, very kind of them. And also, in kind, we are offering the Seminary Ridge Museum members a 15% discount to attend the Civil War Institute's summer conference. So we're excited about this bundled package registration. We're excited for you to come out and experience the joint experiences of historic Gettysburg, the conference, as well as these other great museums like the Seminary Ridge Museum here in Gettysburg. So Pete, I'm wondering if you can talk to us a little bit about where we're standing, why this cupola is so important, what role it played in the battle. Those of you who might come to the Seminary Ridge Museum during the conference or at other times can tour a wide array of exhibits that the Seminary Ridge Museum has to offer. Many, many really neat artifacts on display. But one of their hallmark experiences is the cupola experience, when you can come up here and learn about some of the great history.
Yeah, you mentioned our artifacts. We say that our building is the largest artifact. It's been here on the Ridge since 1832, and the cupola is really the crown jewel of the museum and the crown jewel of Gettysburg. It's the best view that you're going to have of the town, but we're facing the first day's battlefield, and it was from this spot on the evening of June 30th that John Buford, the Union cavalry commander, and his signal officer, Aaron Jerome, climbed up here seeking the most prominent point, looking for Confederate campfires off in the mountains, looking for dust the next morning, the morning of July 1st. And it's really this view that helps Buford lay out his defensive lines on the evening of June 30th that Harry Heath is going to knock into on the morning of July 1st and touch off the Battle of Gettysburg. But also from up here, we have a great view of the First Corps action on July 1st when John Reynolds comes up. You can see towards the college behind the camera and off to the side is where the 11th Corps was fighting against Jubal Early. You can even see where some of Robert Rhodes' division came in. So you really get a great overview of the first day's battle from this unique vantage point where you're going to, again, get nowhere else in Gettysburg. And then after at the end of the fighting, at about 4:30 in the afternoon on July 1st, the Union makes a last stand right here on the seminary grounds, builds a barricade of rails, and withstands an attack from Dorsey Pender's division. Eventually is going to get driven from this field, and the seminary grounds are going to fall into Confederate hands for the next 4 days. So it's a great place to get an overview, an introduction to the first day's battlefield. It's a great place if you've been and seen the first day's battlefield to see it from a different point of view.
Yes, it definitely looks very different.
Right, this is your first time up here,
Yes, it's my first time up here, so this is a special treat for me. Yeah.
But we're really happy. Seminary Ridge Museum is thrilled to work with the CWI, thrilled to work with Gettysburg College on a number of different projects, so this was just a natural relationship. So glad to be working with you.
Yeah, this is wonderful. It really is an amazing battle panorama of the battlefield. And Pete, when visitors come up, if they choose to do the cupola experience, can you tell us a little bit about how they'll encounter this space?
Sure. So it's a guided tour. We run them 6 times throughout the day during the summer. It's a 30-minute guided experience where you come up with one of our historians, so you get somebody here that can point out everything, that can really tell the story of the first day's battle using this viewpoint.
Great, wonderful, excellent, a really special, unique opportunity. What we'd like to do now is actually take you downstairs and show you kind of a sneak preview of some of the exhibits that they have here at the museum. So we mentioned they have multiple floors of exhibits and really neat artifacts, and of course, as Pete said, the entire structure is really an artifact in and of itself. It did serve as a field hospital during the battle and after the battle, but we also have a wide array of things to experience downstairs in the museum. So we'll move downstairs and maybe Pete, you can give us a little preview
Absolutely.
of what's down there.
Cool.
So we are here on the third floor of the Seminary Ridge Museum, which deals primarily with the medical story of the aftermath of the Battle of Gettysburg, and in particular the story of the seminary as it served as a field hospital in the wake of the battle. Pete, can you tell us how long did the seminary serve as a hospital, and who was here during that time?
Sure. So it becomes a division field hospital for the 1st Division of the 1st Corps sometime around 10 a.m. on July 1st. And it's going to be used as a hospital until September 16th of 1863, so almost 2.5 months. Around July 22nd, it administratively becomes a general hospital, which means that it's accepting soldiers as they're condensing these field hospitals, closing some of these smaller field hospitals around the Gettysburg area. They have to send them somewhere. So Camp Letterman, which we see behind us, and the seminary become two of those general hospitals where patients are accepted. So you see soldiers from all different parts of the Army of the Potomac, and even some soldiers from the Army of Northern Virginia here through September.
Wow. And approximately how many do you think were treated here?
So between 600 and 700. We have a patient register that names a little under 500, but we've seen numbers up to 600 or 700. And so we have identified soldiers and their wounds and when they leave here, where they go. It's great record keeping during the Civil War, which really helps us out.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when folks tour the third floor of the museum, what kinds of other exhibits are they going to see, and what can they learn about here?
Yeah, so on the third floor here, it takes the visitor basically through when a soldier was wounded, in this case mostly on July 1st, through the surgery process, and then through recovery, nursing, and then leaving the seminary hospital. We even have an exhibit on death and dying, changes in the ideas of death and dying that come out of the Civil War.
Okay, great. And because the museum is so big and has so many different floors, each floor looks at a different theme, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
So what are the other themes?
So, usually in a museum you have a story and you build the building around the story, but here it was sort of backwards, where we had the building and we had to figure out what stories were within the building's walls. So the fourth floor, where we tell our visitors to begin, covers the first day of the battle. So, we say go up to the cupola, see the view, and then go downstairs and you can see, sort of takes you through the timeline of July 1st, even going back to the evening of June 30th. And then on this floor, of course, we talked about the hospital floor. And then the second floor of this building is really what sets us apart from what you're going to see in other museums in Gettysburg or even around the nation, where we discuss the impact of religion on the American Civil War, the coming of the American Civil War. This building was a seminary before, during, and after the battle, and these debates were occurring over the issue of slavery and what the Bible is saying about the institution of slavery. So we get into those discussions that were occurring within these walls, and then we also talk about the African American community on the border, only being 8 miles from the Mason-Dixon line. This was a battleground between slavery and freedom in the 19th century.
Sure. Perfect. And then first floor?
Is our lobby, our nice clean bathrooms.
Important.
And always important. And our education center.
Education center. Yep. Perfect. Wonderful. Well, again, we do hope to see many of you in Gettysburg this June, not only for the CWI conference, but also to explore some of the other gems that historic Gettysburg has to offer. Obviously, the the Seminary Ridge Museum, a fairly new museum in terms of the broad history of Gettysburg, but really a true gem in terms of the stories that you get to learn about, in terms of the historic structure that you get to encounter as you work your way through. And it's a wonderful way to couple your visit to Gettysburg. So again, we're happy to be partnering with the Seminary Ridge Museum, amongst other cultural institutions in Gettysburg. The Seminary Ridge Museum is offering that 25% discount to anyone who attends the CWI, and in turn we are offering a 15% discount to all members of the Seminary Ridge Museum. So we do look forward to hopefully seeing you in Gettysburg this June.